As I reach inside and dare to be great, I dance, I yell, and I celebrate.
Hi, and welcome back to Breakthroughs Before Breakfast. My name is Annalise Brownlee, and this week we're going to be discussing one of the most critical things that any business needs in order to expand and grow: a championship team. This brings me to this week's distinction: build a championship team. Andrew Carnegie once said, "Teamwork is the fuel that allows common people to attain uncommon results." So right now, let's take a look at what a team is defined as. A team is a group of people contributing their individual knowledge and skills, but working together to achieve a common goal or task. So what is it that makes a championship team? Well, it's said that a championship team is a team of champions. That may seem slightly redundant, but it's an important distinction. Having champions on your team means that you have people who are bringing forth specialized or unique skills, which they are exceptional at. Everyone is constantly giving their absolute best, and there's no worries about pride or egos getting in the way, because everyone is committed to doing their best while working with others to achieve a common goal. So right now, I want you to imagine a soccer team, or football as you may call it. The first game of the season, the coach assigns players to each position on the field. The players take their position on the field, and the game commences. The team at the end of the game lost. And the next game, the coach assigns the same players to the same positions. Again, the team loses. This happens game after game with the same results. And the coach wonders why he's so unsuccessful. He has people covering each crucial position. He has people in the positions which they love, but still, the results are dismal. So finally, he takes a look at why he's achieving these results. He changes the positions on the field, brings in some new players, and takes out some old players. Finally, he starts to see results. Why is this? Because at the beginning of the season, he hadn't taken the time to evaluate the various weaknesses and strengths of each player and see where they should play on the field, or if they should play on the field at all. Once he took the time to evaluate these and make some changes, he finally started to see results. It's the same in business. In his book, Good to Great, when speaking about how various leaders were able to take their companies from good to great, Jim Collins says, "We first found that they got the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and the right people in the right seats. Then they figured out where to drive it." It's important to make sure that you have the best people covering the positions that they're the best at. In soccer, it wouldn't be a very good idea to have your goalie playing midfield in the middle of the game. Why? Because that leaves your goal wide open to your opponent. It's the same in business. It typically wouldn't be a very good idea to have your accountant covering publicity instead of focusing on what he is best at. Because, as in the game, this leaves you wide open to errors in that department. It's important to have people who are sufficient, competent, and committed to getting the best results possible for your company in the right positions. Doing this gives you the freedom to be able to delegate tasks instead of spending your valuable time focusing on micromanaging or doing the grunt work yourself. It's also important to evaluate who is adding the maximum value to your company and who it may be time to let go of. Having a championship team gives you the freedom to not necessarily have to be present in your company at all times. It allows you the freedom to go off and do things, but still have things run smoothly. This gives you so much more freedom and potential for expansion and growth in your company. So this week's world leader is known for organizing the largest military expansion in U.S. history. He also had one of the greatest championship teams in military history. This week's world leader is George Marshall.
At the age of 17, Marshall entered the Virginia Military Institute. There he worked hard, and he soon showed proficiency in military subjects. He concentrated his studies on leadership and ended his last year there as first captain of the Corps of Cadets. Marshall graduated and immediately received commission as the second lieutenant of infantry. He then embarked for 18-month service in the Philippines. Marshall early developed self-discipline and the attributes of command that eventually brought him to the top of his profession. Men who served under him spoke of his quiet self-confidence, lack of flamboyance, his talent for presenting his case to both soldiers and civilians, and his ability to make his subordinates want to do their best. After his service in the Philippines, he advanced steadily through the ranks, ultimately becoming the General of the Army in December 1944. After World War I, he served for 5 years as assistant commandant in charge of instruction of the infantry school at Fort Benning, where he strongly influenced many officers who became outstanding commanders in World War II. He became Chief of Staff of the U.S. Army on the same day that World War II began, and for the next 6 years, Marshall directed the raising of new divisions, the training of troops, the development of new weapons and equipment, and the selection of top commanders. When he entered office, the U.S. forces consisted of fewer than 200,000 officers and men. Under his direction, it grew in under 4 years to a well-trained, well-equipped force of 8,300,000, which was the largest force in U.S. history. As leader of the U.S. Army, his championship team consisted of some of the most influential and brilliant political and military men of his time, including President Harry Truman, General George Patton, General Douglas MacArthur, and General Dwight D. Eisenhower. In January 1947, he was appointed Secretary of State. In June of that year, he proposed the Marshall Plan, which played an important role in the reconstruction of war-torn Europe. Because of this, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1953.
So this week, my challenge to you is to take a look at your business and see, what is it going to take for me to have the best championship team? Where are there gaps where you can bring new people on to help you be more sufficient so that you can do what you do best? Who's adding maximum value? And who might it be time to let go of? Thanks so much for watching, and remember to tune in again each week for brand new episodes of Breakthroughs Before Breakfast.